Hey everybody, Sean from Media Assault here, and it is time for the fourth and final installment of my Halloween 2014 series. This time out, I'm taking a look at the 2012 horror film The Possession, which is purported to be based on a true story, although the true story, the quote-unquote true story of the Dybbuk box is quite a bit different than the story that's told in this film. Long story short, the original Dybbuk box was purported to be a box that contained the spirit of a demon, or contained a demon, and it's part of Jewish religious folklore. Supposedly, someone came into the possession of this, and they said it made their house smell like cat urine and a whole bunch of other stuff. You can read about that online, but the story is a lot different. That's not the only thing it did. It did a lot of other stuff. It didn't just make the house smell like cat urine. I have 2 cats, and I have the same problem, so, there you go. But in this film, it tells the story of a family that was recently rocked by a divorce. There's a single father played by Jeffrey Dean Taylor, I believe is his name. He's the guy that played the comedian in Watchmen. He plays the father. Kyra Sedgewick plays the mother, and there are 2 daughters kind of torn between their mother and father. They go to spend the weekend with their father, and they come across this yard sale, and the youngest daughter, Emily, takes a liking to this ornately crafted box, which has a lot of Hebrew scripture written on it or carved into it, and she really gets attached to it. The father can't figure out how to open the box, although he can hear that there's something inside it. She, though, is able to open it as if it was only able to be opened by her, and what she finds inside are the corpse of a moth, oddly preserved, a small wooden horse figure, it looks like a horse or a pony, a giant tooth, and some other stuff. I believe there's some hair in there as well. Well, then strange things start happening to the daughter, and it turns out that, of course, what she has come into possession is this thing called a Dybbuk box. Although it takes the movie a while to unveil that, there is apparently some sort of demonic force inside the box. And the movie tells the story of this demonic force's effect on the daughter, the family as a whole, and a lot of weird things happen to her at home, in school, at her mom's house, at her dad's house, just all sorts of stuff. It's a fairly typical demonic possession film, albeit with a Jewish angle. The Hebrew angle on it is actually the most interesting thing about the film. But other than that, it really doesn't add anything to the genre. If you've seen The Exorcist and the umpteen movies that it has inspired, then you've pretty much seen this film. Really, aside from the Jewish angle, the fact that the Dybbuk box is purported to be a real thing, there's really nothing to see here that you haven't seen before. I will say the effects are very creative. The concept is very cool. There are a few scenes that are very visually interesting, but the movie really isn't scary in the classic sense, like I was talking about with The Changeling last week, or in the typical new sense of what makes horror movies scary, which are jump scares. There aren't really any of those either. So this is just sort of an interesting demonic possession film that doesn't really do anything that you haven't seen before. It doesn't add anything to the genre. The performances are good, especially the girl who plays Emily, whose name I don't remember, unfortunately, but she's very good. Jeffrey Dean Taylor, if I'm getting his name right, and I apologize if I'm not, he is very good. Kyra Sedgewick is very good as the mother. Everybody's good. Even Modest Yahoo is in this film playing a young Jewish rabbi. Well, Jewish rabbi, that's kind of redundant, but he's very good, although he's not a great actor by any stretch of the imagination. He does liven up the film with a little bit of, much needed humor at the end. I was just really disappointed by this. I was really intrigued by the concept. I thought the fact that it was based on this story that I had read online many years ago, and I've forgotten all the details to it. I thought that would bring something very fresh and very new to this, and unfortunately, even though it's very well made, very well shot, very well directed, performances are great, effects are great, it's less than the sum of its parts, because the plot such as it is, just really is kind of a letdown. So I'm going to give The Possession a 4.5 out of 10, just a little below average. Really, you don't need to see it. I wouldn't recommend it as a Halloween film. I wouldn't really recommend it at all. But unless you're really interested in seeing yet another take on the whole exorcism, demonic possession type thing, you might want to check it out. But otherwise, you can pretty much not even bother with it. Just kind of ignore it. So there you go. That's my review of The Possession, the final film in my Halloween 2014 series. Next up, somebody had actually requested a review of this film that is sitting back here, Snowpiercer, which I picked up on Blu-ray when it came out. I have just heard this is actually going to be available on Netflix very shortly, but I will be watching that as my next review. So stay tuned for that here on the Media Assault channel. As always, feel free to rate, comment, and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Thanks again for watching, everybody. Take it easy.